What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update, and it just feels like this transfer window is just going in a bit of overdrive at the moment. Nothing Spurs involved, unfortunately, but everyone outside of Spurs, it just feels like it's like crazy season already. Like the season, Champions League final hasn't even been played yet, and like teams are signing players left, right, and centre. It's actually mad, isn't it?
Well, there's a window upcoming, so people clubs are getting their business done early, and obviously we're in limbo, so we're kind of just waiting for a decision to be made by someone to seeing who our manager is going to be, so we can kind of get a head start on our business. And all the other clubs seem to be kind of executing their plans and getting things together ahead of this small window we have next week.
Yeah, very frustrating if you're a Spurs fan. I do get the sense and do get the feeling that obviously no information or anything, but I do get the sense and feeling that we wouldn't be dithering around so long if we're not looking for another manager target behind closed doors.
Yeah, you're probably right, but the reality is, who are we actually going to replace him with?
That's another question. That's another question. But we'll have to wait and see.
I think there's a good chance that we're not going to be satisfied with any replacements. We might stick. That's also a good possibility.
And if that is the case, then you do run the risk of being like Manchester United with Erik ten Hag last season, where you're thinking for so long that you're going to sack the manager, they win a cup, you don't end up sacking them because there's no targets that you want to bring in, and then you end up sacking them 10 games into a season.
Well, what's the alternative?
Yeah, I don't know what the alternative is. It's hard. It's hard.
Sign a manager that you don't want, or keep a manager that you don't want.
Are you ultimately going to end up with a manager you don't want anyway?
Yeah, but are you better off? Is it more of a risk keeping a manager you don't want, or bringing in a manager you don't want?
Probably keeping it and waiting to see if you can get anyone, but I mean, both options don't seem great.
No.
So, look, let's get into the transfer news. Sorry, a bit of a low start to this one, but we are European champions, so there is something to be happy about.
I'm going to mention that in every video up until next season.
First one we're going to talk about is a report linking us to Chelsea striker Christopher Nkunku. Ben Jacobs says that Nkunku is expected to leave Chelsea this summer. Bayern have made an approach in January, and Nkunku was keen. Chelsea wanted over 60 million euros back then, with a view of getting more than what they paid for him. Nkunku would welcome a Bayern bid. Also, he's open to staying in the Premier League, and he understands that Spurs have inquired and are the most concrete Premier League suitor currently, but links with Newcastle and Liverpool are wide off the mark. So he claims that Spurs are obviously the most concrete suitors for Nkunku this summer. I can't really see it. I don't really see where he fits in either.
He was obviously a player before Chelsea signed him that was really highly sought after, and it was seen as a real coup that they got him, and he was brilliant for Leipzig. But he was kind of...
You talking about Timo?
Huh? He could be talking about Timo, but Nkunku, he really thrived either in a front two or in kind of either number 10, false 9 kind of position.
Yeah, it was kind of like a second striker. That's like where he made his proper name.
And we don't really play that role, really. I guess you could argue in recent weeks we've been playing with a double pivot with the number 10, and maybe he could fit in that number 10 role. But again, more often than not, we're playing kind of a 4-3-3. So our number 10s are expected to be a bit deeper in build-up and stuff, and that's not really his role as well. He's obviously had a few games on the wing for Chelsea, but never really impressed at all. That's not really his position. Doesn't really make much sense. And you add into that, he's been just terrible for this year. Obviously, last year suffered really bad an injury. I think he needs to go somewhere which really suits him, and he becomes like a main player there. I just don't think Tottenham's the right place.
I've got a feeling that he could end up back at Leipzig with Benjamin Sesko leaving or something like that, where I think that could be a really good fit for him. But
not a bad shout.
With us, I just feel like if Poch was our manager and we utilised him the same way as we utilised Dele Alli, I think it could be a good, decent option for us. But seeing as we do have Ange here and we play the system that we do, I just don't think he fits whatsoever.
If we had Inzaghi and we're 5-3-2, that's a different story.
That's a different story, yeah.
But I just think under Ange, look, Ange obviously likes attacking players, and I'm sure you look at Nkunku, look at the quality, maybe he might feel, maybe I can do something with him, but it's not an immediate good fit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's move on and talk about the links to Leroy Sane at the moment. Christian Falk, CF Bayern, says that Tottenham hold concrete interest in Leroy Sane. His agent, Pini Zahavi, is close to Daniel Levy and is looking to secure a better deal for his client. If Spurs manage to sign Sane, they are unlikely to consider a permanent move for Matisse Tell. This is an interesting one for me. Obviously, with Leroy Sane comes with a big reputation and a big name. someone that's done it on the big stage, won a lot of trophies in his career. He is 29 years of age now. Did have a decent season last year for Bayern Munich. Bayern do want to sign him up to a new deal and do want to carry on the story with Leroy Sane, but he seems to want to move on at this stage. And the way I look at it is that with all the young kind of wingers that we have, with Mikey Moore there, with Wilson Odebear there, I think he could provide like a really good stopgap for these guys to really develop and nurture them.
I just think with Leroy Sane, what I've seen from him over the past few years since he's gone to Bayern, no doubt about it, the guy has quality and he's a good player, but he's not the player he was kind of before that Bayern, before that big ACL. I feel like he hasn't fully ever got back to his best since that injury, and I think he's gone to Bayern and done well, but obviously most attackers go to Bayern and score lots of goals. Like, it's not they dominate the league, they dominate most games. They've got a plethora of attacking talent. If you're playing on those wings, it's more often than not, you're going to get lots of chances and you're going to be in good situations. And obviously with someone of Sane's quality, he has gotten a good return when it comes to goal contributions at Bayern Munich. But what I've seen from him, maybe in Champions League games on the bigger stage, I just see a player who doesn't have that explosive pace that maybe he used to have. He's not slow, but he's not as quick as he used to be. And I do see a player on a bit of a decline. He's still got a lot to offer, but is it? And we've got Son there already. He's on big wages. Is it a player, especially if we're keeping Ange? Is it a player we can rely on to play kind of a pressing system and things like that, work off the ball? Is it a player we can rely on to stay fit? Is it a player we can rely on to do what we need him to do for a good number of games? He seems to burn out very quickly in games a lot of the time. He goes off quite early. He didn't complete that many 90 minutes last season. I've just got a few question marks, but I know how good he is. And maybe if the theory is, he's 29, he's not yet 30. I think he's going to be 30 next month. But maybe he's got a couple years left at the top level, and it's worth capitalising on that and bring him in, and we get enough out of him. Then I can understand it. But if we're expecting him to kind of lead us into a new era, I think the name is bigger than what he currently offers, in my opinion.
In terms of the completing 90 minutes thing, I mean, he has still completed quite a fair few, like quite a lot of 90 minutes this season. And also, you've got to remember that he's competing with the likes of Michael Elise, he's competing with the likes of Jamal Musiala, he's competing with the likes of, who's the one that used to be at Arsenal, name slips my mind.
Gnabry.
Serge Gnabry, like all these kind of players. Like, he's got such big competition there.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's paid, I think he's played equal amount of games on the right and the left wing this season, and I just think like to have someone of that with that quality, with that experience, to try and nurture these players like Wilson Odebear and Mikey Moore, I think he's just such a good player to learn off, and he's got such good qualities. And I think he's look, I don't get me wrong, I completely agree with you. I don't think he's anywhere close to the player that we saw at Man City, but he's still a very good player and still a top caliber player in my opinion. And
do we not need someone in their prime right now? Is that not what the thinking is?
Yeah, we do need that. We need someone like Bryan Mbeumo. Like, if we get Bryan Mbeumo, like, I'll snap that up a million times a day over a Leroy Sane. But it's a question of, are we going to go and get that player? And if we're not, then I think Leroy Sane would be a really good option for us. In my ideal mind, I would like to bring in Leroy Sane plus one other, like one guy in their prime, to be honest.
Yeah, I just feel like we've got Brendan there on the right. He's obviously quite young. He's obviously kind of entering in his prime at the moment. But we all kind of agree that Brendan is a good option with his goal return. But we need someone better than him, like starting most weeks as like our number one. I just don't know if Sane's up to that right now. I'm just not sure.
You don't think he's better than Brendan Johnson?
I think he's a better player, but whether we can get him starting regularly ahead of him, I just don't know.
I think we can. I don't see a reason why we can't. Like, he's started a considerable amount of games for Bayern this season in the league and the Champions League. Like, he's had a big impact for the Bayern season this year, Leroy Sane.
Yeah, but it's one thing doing it at Bayern. We're not at the level of Bayern Munich.
Correct.
He's going to have to do a lot more work.
Yeah,
whether he can
100%.
hack that while also providing what he provides, I don't know. I've just got big question marks about it. But look, he's a quality player. Obviously, if we do this deal, I'm going to get hyped. And I love Sane. He's been one of my favourite players, especially when he was at City. I thought he was an absolutely phenomenal player. I just don't know if I kind of feel like it might be a similar situation to like Bale, when he came. I think it's a similar. I know he's a bit younger, but it's like obviously Bale was quite good when he came, but he wasn't quite. We knew he wasn't quite the player that we had before and in his prime, and he still offered a lot, but was it enough? You could argue maybe not.
I think Bale was more past his prime than what Sane is now.
Yeah, probably. But I think it's not. I think it's fairly. But I'm saying that's kind of what I see Sane is at the moment in terms of the type of player. Like he's not a player that's gonna speed past anyone anymore. But he's still quick.
Do that in the Bundesliga though.
Yeah, not too much. Not too much. Like not as much as he used to. He doesn't have the pace that explosiveness.
Like I was looking actually into the stats today of like the top speeds that Sane's reached this season, and it's bloody fast still. It's like he's reaching speeds of, I can't remember the number, but he's up there with like players which you would associate with really fast players. Like his speed he's not a slow player. He's still very quick. He's not like, you're talking about his Man City days, like one of the quickest players in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Now he's not like the quickest in the world, but he's still very, very quick. Like he's probably quicker than the majority of our wingers.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like, yeah, I'm sure. He can sometimes hit those speeds, but it's about how often he can hit those speeds.
Yeah.
And it's like Son, we know his pace isn't what it was, but he can still have moments where he breezes past players. Doesn't mean he has that pace. Like, it's still a problem. And I think that's the same with Sane, in my opinion. Obviously, it's not as bad because he's only just hitting 30, but it's only going to get worse, is my feeling. And that's what I'm worried about.
Do you not think, like, with a player of his quality, that we can get, like, 2 good years out of him?
I mean, that's the theory, but is that how we want to be making a decision? I don't know. I guess we do need players for the here and now, but I'd rather have a player that we can see it being here in 5 years rather than 2. I don't know.
Look, I think we've got so many young players coming through. We've got so many of those players that are going to be here for the long-term future. And, we keep saying that we need to sprinkle around experience in with these players. And I think this is maybe not the ideal situation of what it looks like, but it's what, it can be really valuable to us, in my opinion.
It's worth exploring, that's for sure.
Anyway, that is the Leroy Sane situation. I see it being very polarised, this situation, Leroy Sane. So let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. A journalist called Fraternitine Matin out in France says that Tottenham are competing to sign Evan Gisand of Nice, and they want 28 million euros for the forward. The player has informed Leeds that he wants a new challenge, which has led them to reluctantly accepting his potential exit. He is a player that's had, a fairly good season with Nice this year, 24 years old. Would you want him at Spurs?
There's been a lot of talk about him. He's a very much a football hipsters kind of pick. Evan Gisand for sure. I know physically, I think he's the kind of player who could really fit in well in the Premier League. But I think obviously he's fairly young. I think. He's
23.
23. Maybe we're getting him at a time he's starting to really break out. But I don't know. I haven't seen too much of him, but I know he's really had a bit of a breakout year for Nice, and maybe he could be a good replacement for Richarlison.
Yeah, 33 games this season for Nice, 12 goals, 9 assists. Has played 16 games on right wing, 10 games at centre forward, and 3 games on the left as well. So can play across the whole front three. Look, I haven't seen him play much, but from the reports I'm reading and from what's going around, he seems like a really good option to have, to be honest. Someone that's very versatile. And it's like, do you want someone like that, or would you prefer someone like a Sane?
Would I prefer him or a Sane?
Yeah.
Well, I know more about Sane. It's hard to really say in terms of I don't really know what kind of forward he is. Is he just one who's getting goal assists surely from his physical attributes, or is he one who has, a really good technical ability as well, good ability to dribble all these different things? So it's hard to say. I think he's more of a forward than Sane, who's more of a winger, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's different kind of position. But who would I rather? It's maybe him, because he's a bit younger. Maybe he's the future.
It's interesting with this guy. I'm looking at what positions his goals have come from. So like I said before, 16 games as a right winger, 10 games from centre forward to 3 games as left winger. So from left winger, he got 2 goals, 2 assists. When he was playing up front, he got 2 goals and 1 assist. When he was playing on the right wing, he got 8 goals and 6 assists.
Well, that's good competition for Brennan.
Yeah.
So maybe, a kind of versatile forward could be valuable. I don't really know too much about him.
Yeah. Well, if you do let us know in the comment section below. Let's talk about Alejo Veliz now. As Esteban Edul says, Rosario Central will begin working on a deal for Alejo Veliz. He's the number 9 that they're dreaming of after completing a deal for Angel Di Maria. They're looking to bring in Alejo Veliz back to the club.
Well, he needs someone to cross balls into, doesn't he, Di Maria? So Alejo's perfect. No, fair play, I think, to them. And I think Alejo needs this move. It's just not worked out for him in Europe for one reason or another. You can't really put your finger on it, whether it's the wrong club, loan deals, whether it's he's not suited to, whether it's a development thing, he hasn't played enough football to develop himself. For one reason or another, it just hasn't worked out here, unfortunately, for him. So I just think he needs a clean break, probably a permanent move, get his career back on track, and then down the line, maybe he can return to Europe. But I feel that maybe the move just came too early for him in terms of that European move. Obviously, he only really just broke into the Rosario team, didn't he, when he signed? Scored 12 goals in the league. Fair play to him, 19-year-old. It's not easy to do, but maybe it was just too early for him.
Yeah, we ended up paying over $1 million a goal. We brought him in for 15 million. I can't see us getting anywhere close to that if Rosario sign him back. What are we looking at? Like half that, probably?
Yeah, probably.
Even that, if we're going to get that, I think we'll be lucky. So we'll see what happens. We brought you the news yesterday about Rodrigo Bentancur. Spurs are locked in talks with Bentancur over a new contract. The Bleacher Report are now reporting that Bentancur is ready to sign that new deal, but Bentancur is waiting on clarification on who the head coach will be next season. And
Makes
Spurs do think Bentancur could end up being a future captain. Do you agree with that?
Wow.
Do you think Bentancur could be a future captain?
Well, with Bentancur, I know that there was when we were going for that whole injury crisis, so our whole leadership group was out, Vicario, Romero, Maddison, Son, during, I think, February time.
He kind of picked up the slack.
Well, there was a lot of talk about it, wasn't there? Around the dressing room, he was the one kind of trying to take that leadership role. We know, obviously, he's one of the more experienced members of the dressing room. We know he's played at big clubs as well, before in Juventus. One of the big things in Juve that I remember the Juve fan we were talking to and other people have said was he never really kind of took any leadership role, took responsibility in that way. He was kind of very much a reserved kind of guy. He liked to be told what to do, and he was kind of felt like he was just part of the squad rather like one of the leaders in that team.
Yeah.
And maybe he's developed that side of him at Tottenham, being one of the older heads in the dressing room, and it's really helped him become a leader. So obviously in the future, I mean, when Sonny leaves, I mean, I don't see how he's going to become a captain unless, well, I guess if Romero leaves, Sonny leaves, could Bentancur be a captain ahead of someone like Maddison and Vicario? Yeah, I guess why not? I think he's got the stuff for it. I think if he's taking up that more of that role.
The thing is, I think he's got the attributes for it in terms of a leadership role, and I have seen leadership ability from him this season. Don't get me wrong. However, the way I look at a captain, I feel a captain needs to be one of the first names on the team sheet and be playing every single game, week in, week out, no matter what. And when you're looking at what Spurs are looking at in the market, I feel like we're looking at someone to come in to take his role, to be the starting number 6 in the team.
That's a fair point.
So
Doesn't always have to be, though. You got, like, remember Gundogan was captain at City. He was
okay,
kind of
I know it doesn't always have to be, but that's in my mind. That's how I like my captain to be.
Yeah, I think it just has to be who's right for that squad. Like, I think the captain right now for Newcastle is Lascelles. He barely plays.
Yeah, but he's not actually the captain. He's just captain by name. Like, is he actually the captain?
Why and what's the difference?
Like, I just feel like they respected him a lot, not to strip him of the captaincy, but like he's going to be going probably this summer.
Yeah, but doesn't mean he's not the captain.
Like, the captain really at Newcastle is Bruno Guimaraes. I mean, that's the real captain there.
Well, he's the one wearing the armband more often than not, but I don't know. It doesn't have to be just the right person.
I'm not saying
who's
it
leading
has
the group.
to be, but I'm just saying in my mind, I want my captain to be a leader on the pitch as well, and I want my captain to be playing week in, week out. And it doesn't really sit right with me completely if you've got a captain that, you know, is just playing not a bit part role, but not like in the first choice 11.
Well, we have a leadership group. And you can be part of that.
No, I don't disagree with that. I think it can be a part of it because, you know, we've had the likes of Fraser Forster part of the leadership group, and he's barely played, and, you know, he's an influencing voice in the dressing room. But I'm talking about number 1 captain at the club, what Sonny's been this season, what we've had in the past. Ledley King, you know, starting week in, week out. That's what I want from my captain. Leadership group, 100%.
Well, if he gets back to the levels he showed pre-ACL, like he's been showing flashes of, maybe he can be one of the first names on the team sheet.
But I think that's what we're all saying, though. We're crying out for a monster six, for a starting six, for an experienced six to come in. Surely that's going to be at the detriment to Bentancur's playing time.
Depends. Maybe it'll mean Bentancur finds a new level.
Yeah, maybe.
Just because we signed someone new doesn't necessarily mean he's definitely going to be better than him.
No, but that's the idea, though.
That's the idea, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen.
No, I know it's not going to necessarily happen, but that is the idea of moving forward.
Yeah, but I'm saying Bentancur, what we've seen from him when he's at his best, we know he's a bloody good central midfielder. And when he's at his best, he can be up there with some of the best. So yes, we're looking for a guy because we haven't seen that Bentancur since he got injured, but doesn't mean that if he can get back to his levels, he can't be the answer.
Yeah. I mean, when you're looking at who can be the success to Sonny's armband, it's got to be someone like Romero. But Romero, I mean, I said a few weeks ago that Romero should never wear the armband again, but I feel like Romero, Vicario, someone that is at the top of his game right now, and that is definitely going to be starting weekend. That's just me, everyone, each their own. Everyone can feel differently about it, but that's just for me.
For me, the captain should just be who the best person to lead the group is, and who whoever listens to, and that's what I like in my captain.
Next up, we're going to talk about Ben Davies. Footy Insider says Wrexham have opened talks to sign Ben Davies on a free transfer when his contract expires. I mean, look, like I've said before, I've heard that his contract, he has signed that extension. So whether that be, maybe they're talking about next summer then for Ben Davies on a free transfer, but I can't really see this one happening, to be honest.
I wouldn't rule it out. We know that Wrexham, with the influx of money they have in the ownership roles, obviously they've got back-to-back promotions, and now they're looking to really solidify themselves in the Championship. Ben Davies is on big wages, so either he's gonna have to take a pay cut, or they're gonna have to stump up that kind of money. But to be fair, I mean, he's on 70-80 grand a week. It's going to be hard for him to find that kind of wage anyway, unless he does join another Premier League club, which I guess is not impossible, but it's going to be hard for him if he does drop down anywhere, find that kind of wage. You'll have to take a pay cut. But maybe he wants to join that story of Wrexham, a small Welsh club that got taken over by the two Hollywood superstars and have ever since gone three back-to-back promotions in a row. It's been a phenomenal story. And I know a lot of people want to be part of it. So maybe they can sell him that. For me, I would like to move him on. I just think it's time. I like him. It's not like I want it. I don't like him or anything. I'm like desperate to get rid of him. I just think it is time to move him on. And I think we need to be in a situation where if our backups have to come in, the drop-off isn't as big as it is when he comes in. That's just my feeling. So we'll have to wait and see how it plans. Obviously, you've heard he's signed a contract. We had no confirmation yet. Whether he has or not, official confirmation that is. So if he moves to Wrexham on a free, fair play to him. Maybe we can get a bit of money for him if that contract has been signed. But I think it's time to move on this summer.
Yeah, I do feel like within himself, he probably backs himself and thinks he's still good enough to be in the Premier League. And I agree with him. I do think he's good enough to be in the Premier League. And I think whether it be one of the promoted sides or another team in the bottom half of the table, I think he'll try his best to stay in the Premier League next season if he is to leave Spurs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. He's not that old. He's 31, 32?
Yeah.
So he's still got, especially the centre-backs, you can go for a bit longer. But I think he needs to find a team who plays a back three. I think that'll really suit him.
And last but not least, more updates on the Ryan Mason saga. Sky Sports say that Spurs and West Brom expect a decision from Ryan Mason on the Baggies' offer to become their manager by the start of next week, with his Tottenham contract expires at the end of the month.
Yeah, there's just been more here from Sammy Mockbell
saying
there is optimism that Mason will accept the offer to become the West Brom manager, and he also says if Mason does become the manager of West Brom, it's possible that he takes members of the Spurs coaching staff along with him.
Ooh.
Very interesting.
I wouldn't mind that, to be honest.
Just get some new coaching stuff. I think, obviously, that's something that Tottenham are looking to do anyway this summer. Get some new different coaches. Whether I think Ange stays or leaves, I think that's what they want to do.
Who do you reckon he takes? So he takes Matt Wells?
Maybe Wells. Does he take Jednak or Montgomery?
I don't know if he takes the head knack on Montgomery, but I
They're
reckon Matty
Andrew's
Wells.
boys. Maybe Rob Birch, the goalkeeper
Yeah,
coach.
maybe Rob Birch.
Rob Birch, they know each other, yeah. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see who he takes. Yeah, obviously Wells was number two. Number two, wasn't he, over Chris Davies. Davies, by the way, done brilliantly, hasn't he, at Birmingham?
Yeah.
So, and there are a lot of people saying he was a big part of our coaching, but he's a big miss.
To be fair, though, with Chris Davies, I mean, they've got like quadruple the budget anyone has in that league.
It's true. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with Mason, but it's definitely heating up him to West Brom. Great first appointment for him, and really, really curious to see how he gets on. And it's like, for West Brom's point of view, they're a club obviously looking to get back in the Championship. It's quite a risk to go for a manager. I know he's had 2 stints at Tottenham, but both of them are worth like 5 games each time. Not a long time.
But there's previous, isn't there, with like getting managers' first jobs or one of their first jobs, young coaches, ex-players coming into the Championship and doing really well. There's a lot of examples of it, isn't there?
There are quite a few examples, but yeah, it's his first job. We'll have to wait and see how he does. Good luck to him.
Yeah, and back on the Ben Davies thing, by the way, I've also been reading a report that whatever happens with Ben Davies, he is currently doing his licenses at the moment, and he will be back at Tottenham when it's all said and done as a coach. Apparently that's already done.
I see. I think he'll be a good coach. I think he'll be great. He's had how many great coaches worked under.
Yeah.
And what did Mourinho say about Alonso? He was a manager who had so many great coaches, and he learned from all of them. And look what he became. I'm not saying Davies is another Alonso, but like, he's had Conte, he's had Mourinho, he's had Pochettino, he's now had Postecoglou. He's had so many different managers with different philosophies, different styles, and I'm sure he's learned a hell of a lot from all
Ryan
of them.
Mason's the same.
Huh?
Ryan Mason's the same. Didn't play under them, but he was.
Yeah,
coached
he's coached. He was
a coach under them.
Yeah, it's fair. And yeah, he's also the same. You're right.
So that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below all your thoughts regarding all the news stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.